Yeah, this would definitely be my last raid for a very long time. I have never been so mentally exhausted over a video game ever. Being a guild leader does not help remedy that at all, but instead worsens it. What a waste of time. Me after every raid with no nullity robe or 1% badge. So after reading those tweets, are raids really that bad? Are they unfair? And the real question is, are they worth your time? Which leads to the question of what makes something worth it to you. Is it the loot? Is it meeting new people? Is it the grind of an MMO game? Is it feeling useful, teaching other people how to do a raid? Is it experiencing a challenge? What is considered worth it to you? Because if you are only incentivized to do a raid just for the loot, then no, a raid is not worth it. This is because a raid consists of focusing for 3 hours straight at a chance of getting a gear drop that you may not even get after 100 runs, which is 300 hours spent raiding, and if your guild only has one raid portal available, you can only do it once a week. This means scheduling a time on your calendar and asking the guild leader if they can guarantee you a spot every time you want to do one. On average, people get at least 6 runs in, but you don't know how many of those 6 runs you will win. So if you only win 4 times, then that's only 4 chances at getting the nullity gear for that week. And keep in mind, you'll be getting a lot of gear that is not your school, which obviously worsens the odds of getting the specific loot you are after. And you're probably not doing a raid for the aesthetic of the outfit. Kingsale has also been auditing gear lately, so the Aeon gear is honestly better than the raid gear for some schools. I think the only gear piece that is consistently worth it might be the nullity wand and the exclusive pets for PvP, but even then, the stats are only a minor upgrade. Now, it's honestly a good thing that it's a minor upgrade because it means that raids are optional to do. We all know that raids have been inaccessible to players because they are often gatekept, but then what's the point of doing a raid if the loot isn't that fantastic? As I mentioned earlier, if you enjoy meeting new people, then raids are a great way to increase your social circle. This is because you will need to be in a Discord call with 11 other players, and every week you will probably meet someone new. Now, it might be difficult to actually form a good connection with someone during the call because people are busy using the VC to actually communicate instructions during the raid, or some people are just straight up muted because they don't want to talk, which is valid, but raids and guilds are honestly a great way of feeling like you belong in a community. I don't know about you, but for me, I can instantly tell who I will get along with just from someone's voice because you can hear if they are a high or low energetic person. You can tell how friendly they are when interacting with other people and whether or not they're stubborn or open-minded, etc. Raids are definitely a great way of meeting new people, and if you prioritize that, then raids are worth your time. But if you don't care about the social experience in which you're basically muted in the VC the entire raid, then you'll probably hate doing raids. In this case for me, I feel that raids are incredibly boring because you're stuck doing the same thing for 3 hours, and it actually feels isolating because everyone is in different parts of the map stuck there. Someone from drums can't go over to Vanguard to help them. You're stuck with your role for 3 hours, meaning when you're in a VC, you're hearing everyone doing their own thing. So if Vanguard team is talking, everything you're hearing from them is kind of irrelevant if you're a drummer. I come from a background of playing Beast Mayhem where you actually feel useful going around helping the fights and you aren't just stuck in one position. You can play different forms, adding variety into the gameplay, which raids simply just lack. Raids are an adaptation of Beast Mayhem in which it follows the same timer system, end screen visuals, turn-based combat system, doing the outside battles to give cards for the team during the boss fight, etc. So raids was super disappointing for me because of how isolated everything is when I was so used to the actual teamwork required in Beast Moon. But for those who never tried a Beast Moon Mayhem before, you'd probably have a more positive outlook on raids because it feels like you're playing a fresh new game mode. So there is definitely huge pros and cons of doing a raid, and it's up to you to determine which part of the social experience you are after. Now, the majority of raiders do raids just because they like the feeling of being useful. So essentially, they either substitute for a person who couldn't make it, or they help carry the raid if there is a bunch of new players trying it for the first time, and they help teach the newbies where to go, what spells to pack, etc. They are often the people contributing to the guild the most by donating Azoth, grinding the Zarathak treasure cards to craft the raid key, and they just enjoy the grind because it helps out other people. If you're that type of person that likes to be a leader, teacher, or helper, then raids are definitely worth your time. But if you don't have the patience of dealing with people who mess up during the raid, or they simply don't know how to follow basic instructions, then obviously you're not going to have a great time. That leads us to the question of how challenging is a raid? Well, now that people know how to do them, it's super easy to learn. Your guild probably has a guide in the Discord server on how to do the role that you're allocated, and you're also in a VC call to get instant feedback if you're ever confused, so raids are not that challenging. The only challenging part is the annoying raid portal where you don't know whose cantrip failed to register, but there's a simple solution to that, which is to get each role to cast. So for example, 4 people from Vanguard goes first, then the next 4 from CTO, then drums. That way you can accurately pinpoint whose cantrip failed to cast. But the other challenge of raids is dealing with the RNG, because sometimes you just get a bunch of ice mobs that spam shields, you have some that rat spins your traps away or does a blizzard which removes your blades. That ultimately eats away at the timer, leading to a bad run due to bad RNG. That's honestly the most difficult part of a raid. Some people say gathering 12 people is the most difficult part, but if you're in a big guild, then that won't be a problem. Just ask around different Discord servers if you're thinking of joining a bigger guild. Some other reasons that might make a raid worth it is that it drops a ton of spellments. It drops rank 1 to 6 spellments and lore spellments too. So if you didn't want to use gold keys to get rat spins, berry surprise, granulments, etc., then raids are a good alternative. And lastly, a ton of raiders also enjoy the badge collecting part of raids. I just wish that KingsIsle would introduce more incentives in terms of the loot. For example, introducing a chance at an energy elixir drop to compensate for the energy we are using from casting cantrips. I know that they have that for melee speeder, but sometimes doing melee destroys the entire run when something goes wrong, so it's a huge risk. The energy elixir would also help compensate for the perfect pet we had to train in order to even be a part of Vanguard, and also the future pet training we have to do when receiving the exclusive pets. You're going to need to hatch a lot of times to get rid of those bad pool talents. KingsIsle also needs to do something about the raid portal where they should show who successfully casted their cantrip, and they also just need to do something about adding more variety into raids. I'm not sure what that might look like, but I'm hopeful that they can think of something. Overall, raids are either a hit or miss. I do think that raids were overhyped, but let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your opinion on raids, and be sure to check out my next video if Beast Moon is worth playing.